I've got all the housings and that clean, and the first job is to put the front seal in on the front drive shaft. Now, you'll notice the seal has a flat side and the other side has a spring. You can just see the little spring in there. Now, set that up. You can bump it in with a socket, but I find most times I can push it in there with my hands. This one's a little bit tighter. So you can use that front housing and a soft hammer. That sets the seal in square. Now you do need to get that seal a little bit lower than that, so that the back of this seal here is not rubbing on the housing there. So there's a couple of options. One of them is the old seal. You can sit the old seal directly above the new one and give it a bit of a bump. Take it down until it hits the shoulder. Once that's square all the way around, that's good. Just make sure it is square all the way around. That's a good thing. Now, if you remember, the basket had an O-ring sitting on top. I've got the Sparex kit all sitting in round behind me. You can just see I've got it all spread out. Different people like to do it different ways. I just like to get everything all nice and spread out so I can find it and have a bit of a scrummage around. And you get this seal here, and if you want to check what size it is, all the O-rings are out there waiting. So you can actually just sit this old one on top of the new ones. And there it is there. So discard the old one, pop the new O-ring on. Make sure it sits in the groove nicely. There we go, that's a bit better. Nice and even all the way. Hold the whole show together. You'll notice the governor basket has, where the collar is here, there's a flap there. That goes to the top. Not important now, it's just important that you know about it. That slides in there. Bit of brake lean on the drive. Bit of a tidy up there. Now that washer I was telling you about is still in there on this, so let's see if we can get him out and show you. Oh, look, it's staying there. It's just a flat washer, nothing major. I like to put a bit of oil on here. A little bit of oil in behind the seal on the bush. It's lubricated by fuel anyway. Now when we bring this back, you'll notice there's a master spline here, a fat spline. Same on the other end, so we have to line all that up. And it just won't go wrong. If it's wrong, it won't line up. There it is. It's near my thumb to the top, and this one's to the top. Okay, job done. Now this little spring washer, he goes back in. I should probably turn this around and show you. But yeah, the little spring washer's up the hole. The big flat washer is up the hole. Now for the screw, the Allen head screw. I have a little bit of brake clean here and I just clean things as I go. Now do this up by hand. Once you know it feels good, just a touch on the nut gun. If I had the Stilsons on the right way, that would be right. Okay. We know that's tight. You can just check and make sure. Yep, that's good. Okay, so we can turn him around once more. I've cleaned all the housings up. And you'll notice a few finger marks, but they're not going to stay on there. I usually put a bit of WD-40 or something like that over the housings once I've washed them, and that just stops any finger marks from being permanent on it. And when we finish the job, we can tidy it up nicely from there. Here is the circlet. You can probably hear the breeze outside. It's blowing up like a beauty. Hopefully it won't affect the video quality too much, as I have to keep going to get this fella's pump done. Now if we bring this in, make sure it's all the way up, nice and square, and line up the grooves here. With where they were before. Okay, you have to go up a little. Probably a little less than that. Now I put a mark at the end of each circlip, so that's pretty good where it is. And now that needs pushing home a little bit, just by hand. There's a little shoulder in the pump housing there. It just should push up against that while still lining up there. And look, we're good. I'm happy with that. clean in here. Now if you remember the cam ring, now you can see the circlip marks here on the cam ring, and that was the end of the circlip, so that sits in that way. And then underneath here, the ball gets tightened up. If you remember my big shifter, don't have to be too big fisted with all that. Alright, let's have a look in here. Now those weight basket flats, at this time I just like to have them up. Doesn't really matter, I'll probably have to redo them later anyway. So we might start working on the main head and we'll get all that reassembled and tidied up, and then we can start assembling everything back in. Right, I've just had the battery go flat, so anyway we'll have another go. I'm not sure at which stage the battery went flat. So if you have your little rollers or your little pistons, they have to be nice and loose in here. Move under their own weight, which is good. Now these rollers, they have to sit in on the bottom circlip there. There's a little groove on the bottom circlip. Now when you've got them right, in the right place, you will notice that the top is flush with the top of the housing here. And if you move the plate here, you can see them want to move in there okay. So we put that to the side. Now can you see there's a slight little witness mark there. So as we bring this plate down, that witness mark is a bit of a diesel stain from where this was. So if we bring this down, we have to make sure we engage that bottom circlip. And then we turn, remember that mark there against the back? You turn that until that lines up to exactly where it was, and you will see by that witness mark exactly where it was. That's it there. So now the main plate can come down over top, and this little gap here, remember it lined up with the adjusting gap there. So if we bring this plate down without moving anything, check your shadows there again. Yep, that's pretty good. We'll bring this down on top. Take particular care of that. If you want to hot yours up, adjust it probably that way, and that lets the plungers come further out. But yeah, look, I don't do that normally. And now all I do here for this is just hold that top plate Nip them both up evenly. Check your marks there. Look, they're still okay. I can't see the edge of the shadow, so I'm happy that we're good. Now this has a master spline, so we need to line that up when we put it in. But before we get there, we have an O-ring to put on. Now this is your main body O-ring. A lot of pumps get stripped because this O-ring's crooked. That's all, you got to take it to the diesel place, you got to pull the head out, and you got to do this and that and the rest. If it's just leaking there, you don't have to do any of this rubbish. You can just slide it out far enough to put the new O-ring in and put it back. That's all looking good. Make sure we keep everything nice and clean. We'll go and put the pump body in the stand here. Okay, we have our ring there. The rollers have to sit up into there. Now, this O-ring seals just in the housing there, so make sure there's no burrs around there at all. Otherwise you put a bit of lube around the O-ring to make it, or to help it go in easier. Now you'll see the big hole down the bottom. That was for the big screw on the advanced mechanism. This was the front one. Now that hole with no thread, that's your metering valve, that goes up. And that was where the bleeder was at the back there. So if we keep the metering valve up, which is up here, and just slide that into the housing, we'll get to the stage where we need to turn it all to line it up. And there, you can feel it just slid in easily then. A little push with your hand and away you go. The head's back in. Now on this, we had a bolt at the front here. So look in your kit, there'll be a bolt there. A bolt there, I'm sorry, there'll be a copper washer there. So we can do that up, give it a bit of a wriggle, make sure it's lined up nicely. Now don't over tighten this, we're just looking to get it started. So take it up till it's just firm, then say back it off half a turn. Now there's a long bleeder and a short bleeder. The long bleeder goes out the back here. I think the short one came off the top cover. So I'll just find a copper washer. I'll come back around the back. I'm dancing around the camera. Here. This copper washer that's on there is very squashed out. So we get the copper washer, put it over the bolt. Right, we tighten this up. Now we take it, we do the same. We just take it till it's firm, then back it off about half a turn. At this stage, we want to be able to move that head ever so slightly so we can get the advance mechanism back in. So, now on the advance mechanism, we just have to make sure that's clean. Make sure there's no old gasket or anything like that on it. Now remember we had the little plunger down that end. So the piston, the flat end of the piston went to that hole there. So that went that way like that, with this lining up. Then we had the spring, and then we had the end cap with an O-ring around it, and the other end cap with an O-ring there. So I'll get that all set up and we'll come back. Well, I've fitted new O-rings to each end cap here, and we need to find the gasket. They need nipping up yet. I thought I'd wait until I got it on to tighten it right up. Now there is a gasket that comes with it. Now this kit is not exactly for this pump, so what we need to do is we need to line that up there and see where this housing comes across here. We need to mark that and give the gasket a little bit of a cut. So if we start off level with the hole, now we need to come down a millimetre or so. We still need a little more to have this hole lined up anyway. We're looking to have that lined up, and sort of level with the bottom here. So look, we're very close there. I'll just take a little more. Now we have dogs barking in the background. Tidy that up a little. Now something that I hadn't mentioned is an O-ring down here. Now that O-ring sits down on the shoulder of the bolt here, and there's another O-ring, should be one just in here. It's gone quite hard, this one. Hard enough to break coming off anyway. Certainly could have been where some of the leak was coming from. So these O-rings are the same size, so we'll bring him down over the lip. So one sitting in there. One sitting down over the shoulder. And they seal in the housing here as this housing goes on. So at this stage, we should be able to pop this housing on. Remember we had to pull it off a bit, so it's, well, there's no tension there now, we must have let all the tension away. And this bloke goes in the top there, so I'll try and line all this up together if I can. The gasket on there so we know the hole's going to line up properly. And start the bolt, and the bolt actually screws into the head here too, so we're actually looking to make sure that we can keep that gasket where it needs to be. Perhaps if I lay it over like that, we'll have less trouble. That gasket looks straight along the back there, and it looks straight there, so I think we should go and nip this up. And we'll just go firm there for the moment. We'll pop him back in our normal way. Bring it down a little bit. And we should be able to nip this right up now. Tighten that. We nip these up now because all the bolts that go into the head are started. This little bleeder. And these little fellas. Now the O-ring does the sealing on these, they don't have to be tight. So the head's in, the advance is in, there's not much more we need to do there. There will probably be a time to screw this on because we're there with it. We haven't adjusted that in any way. So we'll give that a bit of a... It does look to be a washer for that. So that's good. That's tight. Alright, we might go around to the side and we might start working on the top here. Right, on the camera there we've got a couple of dirty hand marks on the pump. We can't have that. Copper hiding for that one. Okay, now with this, with your governor housing, this is where, remember I've been flapping my gums about the two little flats on the weight basket. So you must be able to see both flats on the weight basket, because these two flats here, they sit down on it. So if they just sit right down, the I'll give this a bit of a tidy up. I hadn't put much time into this one. Right, so this comes and sits down onto the weight, onto the flats on the collar, and you can actually see through the window that it's there, so that's a good thing. Now at this stage I like to put the metering valve in, and once I'll just put a little bit of inox on it. Probably got inox all over the bloody lens now. And that has to be nice and free. Hang on a sec, I'll give this lens a clean. That's better. Okay. The metering valve must be a sloppy fit, like it's got a... If it's a bit tarnished or something like that, you can rub it on a piece of pine board, but try not to take any meat off anywhere. And we have to hook it up over the hook there and then drop it in. And that has to be nice and free. Looks like it is, so we're happy with that. You can hear the shed creaking as the sun comes out, or as the cloud comes back again over it, it expands and contracts. We don't have insulated sheds here. Okay, we put the little spacer there. Now, there's a lock tab for each side. Now the tits on the lock tab go forward. The little pointy bits here, they go forward. And the screws here, as with everything, they get put in and they don't get tightened up until everything's lined up. Let me pop that in there. And at the back here there's a tiny little lock tab. Now the little lock tab, the bit that sticks down comes across here, so to the back, not in the hole there. It comes to the back corner. And then the little screw that we took out of there goes down in there. And don't tighten anything until they're all started. That's all okay to go. So now, if I come over the back here, I can nip this fella up. Doesn't have to be over tight, you've got lock tabs, remember? These fellas here, get your right spanner. I haven't got my normal little spanner today. It's driving me mad. I'll just nip that up a bit. Now they're tight, but don't overdo it. Now the important thing is to come in with your pliers and pull all the lock tabs up. So that plate is now secure. Your metering valve is nice and free. It's coming back under the weight of the governor, or the weight of the governor basket. Now your stopper, he comes through the little hole in the bracket there. There's a small hole for it. He doesn't come around the outside edge, it goes in the small hole, and when you're revving along, he pushes it back shut. So at this stage he just sits there. Now the gasket for here has a couple of locating tabs. They go under where the tab washers go, where the two bolts are. That sits down nice and flat. Now your stopper shaft, it has two O-rings on it. So we'll get them out. Now the O-rings that replace these are often silver in the kit. And why, I don't know, but they're often a silvery looking O-ring. So we just work that down. We have to get down to the second groove. Which is down there. And this fella here. Okay, a little bit of oil on him. And you can actually push him up in to where it would normally live and have the little tit straight up and down. And what happens when the stopper works, there's this little tit. When you pull the lever up the top, it just decides where that goes. So the stopper can go in the top cover. And at this stage, you could even put the levers on the stopper if you choose to. But we don't put this in the top cover because I actually like to get that sitting up there, and we can check with our holes. So on our main throttle shaft we have two O-rings exactly the same as on the stopper. Same O-rings. Get those on. It's a noisy old shed. I don't know how much the camera's picking up. This is a new camera that we're using, and we're still learning a bit. It has a better picture than my other one, but I've had to retune the sound a little, so I don't know if I've got it right. come on. Okay, there's the O-rings on. Now, if we refer to our chart, the spring goes on the one closest to the pivot. Like that. So that sits up there. Now the little rivet has a hairspring on it just to hold tension. So from our diagram, that went in the middle hole, so we can pop that in and sit him up like that. And at this point, we had a drum expand. At this point, we can line that throttle shaft up with the hole in the cover. We can line up the two vertical screws, and when we come down, we can even line up the stopper. That feels pretty good. So before we get too excited, I'll pull that up, pull the stopper up. Now, a quick little test to know if you have everything right or not is, if you remember our throttle shaft, it goes this way here. If we pull him on, you can feel the spring tension against him, but when we pull the stopper on, it made it go backwards. So we need to know, you can actually feel it, it's something you can feel. And I can't feel it. So this one will stay now. Well, they both should stay now, but I can just have a look and see if the stopper's lining up with the lever. I might come round behind the camera. You blokes are in the road a lot. See the little cutout. There we go. So if we try that again, so if we bring this stopper, or this throttle, I'm sorry, we bring him right up around, you can feel tension against it because the stopper's over here. It's a little bit firmer now. I think we're there. You can just feel a little bit of a difference. It's hard to explain. We have an aeroplane going over the top now. They probably want to know how to do an injection pump. So they're all peering in the door, I reckon. You're telling the pilot, do another lap. We want to see in there. Okay, on both of these we put the dust seal. Now you have a choice here. You can use your old shake-proof washers and flat washer, etc. Or in the kit they actually give you two nylon lock nuts. This fella here, he's wanting his tractor, it's a working tractor for him. So we'll just put a shake-proof washer on each. And one of the new nylon lock nuts. There should be another one here somewhere. Well, I'm not sure where most kits have two in, so there'll be two somewhere. Right, we'll get these done up. Making sure that you're down on the flats. So the lever here, just make sure it's down on the... You can hear that working. Should still be free once you've done it up. And the other nut, for the moment I'm going to put an old one on over here. There will be one somewhere, I'll just... one of those things. You can actually hear that working too, through the side hole here. Okay, there should be two washers, and they're a fibre washer to go down over there, to where the acorn nuts go, and then we fit the acorn nuts over the top. And nip them up. Do everything nice and evenly. Don't over tighten anything. I've seen many people break these bolts off. They have a bit of a leak up the back here and they think, oh, bloody needs nipping up. Okay, make sure it all still works beautifully. Now this crank return fitting up the end here, we'll just pop him in while we're sitting here like this. That's done. Now the little bleeder, there's a bleeder in the top cover here. It's got the quarter thread on it. There's a new copper washer for that. And that little bleed screw, we'll just nip him up firmly. Now, I think at this stage we can take this out and we can put the end cap and that in and we can assemble all that again, and yeah, we'll go from there. I've still got dirty fingerprints on the pump. You wonder where they come from. My hands are bloody quite clean. One thing we can probably do while we're here, and while the pump's set up as it is where the pipes, or where the injector pipes come in, we have these fittings here, these injector unions. Now, some pumps, they have delivery valves here. These are not delivery valves. But you can see right through these, they're just fittings. So, in the kit there's some steel washers. Go for the steel ones. Steel ones take more pressure, and if you do have a leak under these fittings, you won't once you've put new washers and that on, but if you do have a leak, while the tractor's running, loosen the injector pipe and loosen these fittings, and you'll notice it'll pour fuel out for a little bit. And loosen and tighten a couple of times, and often any rubbish that's in there, you'll flush it all out. So, well, more on the floor. I don't think I ever do a video without having stuff on the floor. You blokes that do whole videos and not drop anything, and I don't know. Not sure how you do that. One of these things are a tad hard to start. Suppose you're all in the shadows there, I'd imagine. Okay, now make sure they're tight. They have to be nipped right up. Alright, onto the end cap. Well, we've got the end cap here, with your pump end housing in the vise in a bit of rag. Don't forget your little, don't damage your little roll pin there. Now on the main fitting here there's a copper washer, so we just need to screw that in. And we can put the screen in, and then bring the fuel inlet fitting down over top of all that. So I'll nip this bottom fitting up. Nice and tight. This next fitting, it's nice and tight. Now with the other fittings, I use a bit of inox with these. So the little plunger goes down the hole. That plunger can be stuck if you've had water in your system. You might have to the plunger should drop down that little hole there under its own weight. I'll just get that over here where I can actually okay, he's down the hole. Then this little hairspring, little light spring. Then there was the washer. Doesn't matter which way that washer goes. This housing here, it came down and seals on that washer, on that hardened washer. Now if you remember, that was quite tight. I'll get my little 18-inch shifter out again. That'll be good enough. And then we had this little screw, the spring-loaded plunger going down in there. Now that was down till it bottomed out on the spring, and then 1 3/4 turns out. So okay, half, 1, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. There's the other nut that I couldn't find. It's up one of the plastic fittings. Okay. There was a little Welsh plug we had to damage to get that out, and there isn't a replacement one, so it may be good just to put a bit of silicone or something there. I never use silicone on anything normally, but you never know, might be the place for it. Okay, we can get the pump back in the housing, back in the vise. Now there's a square ring for here, the old one was round. That has nothing to do with anything really. We had 4 little screws to hold that in. Now it's important to line this little pin up with that gap there, just like that. Just take it out a little bit so I'm not bouncing out of frame all the time. From time to time, do what I just did there. I'll just reach around the other end to check the pump's turning still. Oh, look, I just made a mistake. Did you pick it up? I didn't put the pump vanes in. Couldn't believe videoing things and doing them, how bloody daft you become. You're looking at the monitor over here, making sure everything's in frame still, and trying to see if your light's okay, and I know, just making excuses. Little oil. Now let's line that little roll pin up once more. As I was turning, I was thinking, yeah, those blades are nice and free. And I'm thinking, oh, hang on. Yeah, that's all feeling good. Right, we'll nip all these up properly. By me turning that, the blades and everything are just finding their happy spot. Same as everything, don't over tighten anything, just get everything up firm first so you know you're coming up parallel, you're nice and square to the rotation of the pump. You're not pulling anything sideways. That's fine, I can turn that easily. So we'll give that some now. They're probably supposed to be torqued up. Well, they're definitely supposed to be torqued up. But anyway, we'll do that another day. Okay, that is feeling good. Now on the top of the pump, we have a little plate that you pull off to check it when it's check the timing. This one had Celastic all over it. I'm going to go and wire brush this. I'll be back in a second. Okay, back again. Now there's a small cork gasket for this plate. So we put that on. Now in the kit there's another couple of shape-proof washers. There for this plate here. Don't put anything on this. The person fitting the pump back to the tractor may have this plate off. They probably don't need to if they line up the little marks here, but you never know. Once again, line everything up and get everything started. before you put a spanner near it. That cork compresses quite easily. Alright, that's turning nicely still. Let's, once we've tightened everything up, I believe, let's set it back up in here. And see if we can make it work. Now I always test mine with WD-40. I'm moving the camera back here a bit. The last couple I've done, I end up getting the camera pretty dirty, so I'm wussing out. So I should be able to zoom in fairly tight as well. We'll see how that goes. Now I just run a bit of inox in. And you'll find that you get to full quite quickly. But as you turn the pump up this other end, up at the drive end, that's a pressure pump. I'm going to move this over just a little bit, see if I can get a full turn with my Allen key up the front here, but just bring you around a little bit. Still can't get a full turn. Okay. So we'll keep filling this up and bleed it. I'm going to come around the other side. We're using natural light coming in the door, and plus we've got two big high bay lights, big 400 watts, so just putting a little pin to hold it on open throttle. So I think you can see the fuel coming out the outlet. I'll come round. Now I'm where I can see the monitor. I couldn't see it before. Okay, so we've got fuel coming out. We'll put it at low throttle. We should have fuel coming out still, but less and less. Now we'll open him up flat. Okay, now we'll turn the stopper on. Nothing. Take the stopper off. Stopper on. Nothing. Stopper off. Nothing. Oh, back on. So yeah, that's great. That's working how it should. Once you do your pump, you don't know what little bits of rubbish are around, so cap everything off and actually take your injector lines off and blow them out, or at least loosen both ends and blow them out. A little blue fitting go in here. And that looks pretty good. I'll give it a bit of a bougie up with a bit of brake lean. Get all my dirty finger marks off it, grubby bastard. Around this side too, so it's presentable for the customer. Take the pin out. Now, something I haven't done, I haven't gone and revisited. Was this little screw, the little nut for the stop shaft. So we'll deal with that now. Whoop. Everything's moving nice and free. Alright, that's done. I'm pretty pleased with that. Now if I just put a spray of inox over it, we've cleaned all the finger marks off. Now the inox just protects it until he gets it on the machine, and we should be right. Job done. I'll just go handheld and give you a bit of a look around it. It's a nice looking pump. Everything's done that I can think of. We'll have a happy customer. He's a Fergie bloke, he'll be happy. And that'll do. Job finished.